You've tried semen retention and you failed. Then you tried again and you failed again. Each and every time you ask yourself, why can't I just stick to it? Does it sound familiar? You blame your willpower, you blame your discipline, you blame yourself. My friend, stop. The reason you keep failing semen retention has nothing to do with how horny you are. It has everything to do with how you're trying to feel. Lust isn't the enemy, lust is a messenger. It shows there's a void inside of you, my friend, that hasn't been filled with something real. And until you name that void, no streak, no cold shower, no app, no accountability buddy will ever be able to help you. So let me tell you where this all comes from. My friend, we all have a wound. And let me tell you some of mine. When I grew up, my place that I would call home wasn't what I consider a safe space. I had a stepfather whom I hated at that time, and he hated me. Nowadays, we are fine. My mom had a personality disorder, and nowadays she's working on that, which is amazing. And I love my stepfather, I love my mom nowadays. Back in the days, it was rough. When as a child or grown up, you are lacking this love at home, which is so important. There's this first void coming in your heart, right? Especially for me, it was in my heart, and I was trying to fill that void. Early on, I can remember it was food, video games, and as I grew older, I filled it with porn, at some point drugs, and the older I grew, the more it was women, and especially sex. And the problem with that is, I was trying to fit this missing puzzle piece into my heart with things that don't belong there, things that aren't real. But as I have been very not aware of my actions, unconscious, so to say, unconscious behavior, I indulged in those pleasures, right? So, what happened from there was, as a grown up, I started having sex with countless of women. At this point, 150 to 200. And back in the days, I thought this is something to be proud of. This is something because a lot of men are not able to do that. So I thought that's badge of honor or whatever. Because when I would speak to other men, at least some of them, they would struggle to find the right one, or they would struggle to find a girl at all. And for me, it was the other way around, right? And to a certain degree, there's truth to that because the female sex is the one that is choosing. And if you display yourself as a man that is worth choosing to procreate, there's something to it, right? But at least for me, it became more like a sick behavior, chasing another high, chasing another hit, chasing something. The purple dragon, have you heard of this analogy before? And I would try to fill this void again. I was on autopilot basically, and I would chase a feeling that no woman ever would be able to give me. After some time, it happened because I meditated a lot. I'm still meditating daily in solitude. I decided to try semen retention. Not because of a stupid trend or because of discipline. I just felt aligned with the idea. And the interesting thing is, the more I focused my energy on myself, the more I retained, the more, the more magnetic I became to women. And what I've been doing on purpose before, the chase, was then happening to me. Like there were more women in my life that were actually making themselves more approachable, coming more close to me in a physical way, even, and making themselves available for me, which was interesting because in the past, of course, it happened every once in a while, but in the past, I have clearly been the one that was hunting because I wanted something from them. But as soon as I switched myself and my beliefs and my mindset about those things, I learned, huh, the less I'm interested in that, the more I retain for myself, the more I analyze them, and the less I show them that I want something from them, the more interested they are in me. And this triggered something inside of me, and I fell off the wagon. And again, I indulged in this unconscious circle of addiction, and I found myself very emotional, very emotionally drained, uncomfortable with myself because, again, I asked myself after having intercourse with a woman that wasn't worth it whilst staring at the ceiling, why did you do that again, Fabio? For what? What's your point? Do you feel better? The answer is no. As I was doing semen retention for 150 days, was my longest streak last year, and now I am abstaining since the 1st of February. I have more time for myself. I have more time in solitude. I have more time thinking, being by myself, being with myself, getting to know myself. And the more I would have contact, because I have been a dating coach, right? The more I have contact with men and I would speak to them about situations with women, it is not that they actually are so in need of a woman. They all have wounds. And I would figure out three as a pattern I would see amongst men. And wound number one is either a missing father figure, or there would be missing love in general at home. That was, for example, the case with me, right? I was missing love at home, and that led me to try to fill that void. If you don't have this yin and yang of the masculine and the feminine energy at home, which is so important, right? Which happens unfortunately nowadays through the way that society is designed, and oh, women got brainwashed to be empowered, and we don't meet men anymore, and whatever, and men get more weaker, and there's this whole divide and conquer going on between the sex, between men and women, which is so unfortunate. But this is another topic. My point here is, when as a child you're missing love or a part of your parents, you try to fill that void. You have a void, and you try to prove yourself to be worthy, right? And you get this feeling of worthiness by accomplishment. And there's nothing that makes you feel more accomplished than ejaculation. This hormonal cocktail that's going on in your whole body and everything, this release and this feel good. That's accomplishment. At least it feels like it. And it feels like we are enough when we are doing that. It feels like, yeah, it feels like arriving, huh? But the point is, once you felt this feeling of arriving, which is fake, when you have this wound at least, you want more. And then you need another one. And then you need another one. So regardless of how long you're doing this this semen retention stuff, if you have one bad day and you crave this feeling of accomplishment again, what you're going to do subconsciously is coming back to this. Wound number 2, I would call the empty identity. And I saw and met a lot of those men. And in the past, actually, I've been looking up to some of those. Those men don't know who they are without the chase. It it's their way to fill the void, right? It's not lack of love, but it's lack of a mission. It's lack of a true priority in their life. It's lack of a correct goal, because for masculine beings, it's very important to have goals and something to strive for, something to build, to grow, to accomplish, to conquer, you know. But if a man doesn't have this right vision and it's a bit blurry, it can happen that the real goal will be replaced with the chase and the feeling of accomplishment after the chase is done. And this man will have another encounter with a woman. Because again, there's nothing that makes the brain feel more like, okay, I accomplished it, than ejaculation. And then this mechanism in the brain gets overwritten by this false sense of accomplishment. And this gets their new identity. So instead of chasing or achieving a real goal, instead of building something real, instead of achieving something that is worthwhile, those men change their identity as a whole. And, well, what they're doing with their lives, yes, chasing women. And wound number 3, this is a big one for a lot of men. The missing brotherhood. The missing of people that are like-minded, and the replacement of exactly that through women. And this was a wound of mine as well, because there was a time in my life after I was homeless, after I was a drug addict, I decided to cut people out of my life from the past, and I was literally alone. Right? Last year I decided to be on solitude on purpose. That was a conscious decision, and that was one of the hardest, yet one of the best times ever in my whole life. And I'm grateful for that. Yet, back in the days, I don't know how old I have been, maybe 20, that wasn't a conscious decision. Well, the cutting of my old friend circle was a conscious, conscious decision, but the effect of it, the being alone, the aftermath, that was rough. And I can look back. What happened from there was a vicious circle of dating apps, approaching women, and flirting with women, and trying to get some girl into my life so I wouldn't feel alone. And that's a thing, and this is a really vicious one, because if you as a man display neediness in any kind of form while approaching women, it's like wearing the most stinky parfum you can wear. And a lot of men in those kinds of situations aren't aware of this. And when you come across as needy to a woman, she will sort you out instantly, because needy to them signals that you don't have access to other women. And women trust other women. And if you don't have access to other women, they think to themselves, at least subconsciously, that you aren't a good one. Because if you would be a good one, you would have options. And if you would have options, you wouldn't display neediness. You get me? And a lot of men from my coaching back in the days have been exactly there. They have been needy through loneliness, displaying loneliness while trying to date. They would get rejected, and that would be a vicious cycle, vicious cycle, vicious cycle, vicious cycle. And back in the days, unfortunately, I would teach them how to not to display that instead of actually working with them on their real problems. Yeah, and this will change from now on. This is why I forged the Alchemy of Will, which is a transformation program. And it's not about suppressing your darkness or whatever. It's about really going deeper and understanding oneself, being insightful, working on those little traumas, and evolving as a man. It's about turning the lead we are into gold. It's about forging a diamond out of ourselves without tricks for dating, without any kinds of hints or whatever, something, pick up lines or whatever. No, we don't need that. Because as soon as we understand who we are, as soon as we understand our real power, as soon as we get to know ourselves through semen retention, meditation, breathing techniques, we understand those bodily sensations that we feel when we are in need of a companion that's not real. And we can transform those rather negative feelings into something positive that is worthwhile. If any of this hits you, if you recognize one of those wounds, you're a big step ahead of 99% of men, because most men are not aware of this. If you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to learn more, there's a link down below. Book a call. Let's have a chat. See you in the next one.